Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for the second of our summer concerts. We're excited to share this music with you. You've got a detailed resume in your program of both our artists tonight. So I'm not going to give long, extended introductions other than to say I'm excited. These are two of my special friends. I got to meet Stephen when he was, I think, a sophomore or junior in high school and a member of North Carolina All-State Youth Choir. That was over 10 years ago, and I would have never dreamed that our lives would kind of follow a path. He's now a student close to finishing at Campbell Divinity, majoring in church music and music concentration, and serving as minister of music at First Baptist Wilmington. And Catherine Hamner has the hard task of working with me as primary accompanist for our Divinity School, accompanies two of our ensembles and plays for services. So I have had the privilege of working with her for several years. You're going to fully enjoy hearing their music, but I hope you'll also get to know them personally, and I know looking around the room, a lot of you already know them very personally. So you'll enjoy spending some time with them after the concert when you attend the reception. And we have refreshments for you in the fellowship hall, and we want to be sure all of you are invited and maybe can stay, even if you can stay just a few moments. We'd love for you to do that following the concert tonight. I think that's all I need to say in terms of introductions, other than to open tonight with a prayer. It's called the Musician's Prayer. I came across this a good while back, and I want to read that prayer for you as we open tonight. O Lord, bless this music that it might glorify your name. May the talent that you have bestowed upon Stephen and Kathy be used only to serve you. Let this music be a witness to your majesty and love, and may it remind us that you are always watching and listening from your throne above. May your presence and beauty be found in every note, and may the words that are sung reach the hearts of all of us so that they might draw us closer to you. May your Spirit guide us as we listen so that we might be better instruments of your peace and proclaim your glory with glad voices. Amen.
And set me up upon shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom then shall I be afraid? Of whom then shall I and that piece actually has a special meaning for me and for my family. We've actually had 3 generations of Laughlins on my mother's side that have sung that piece. It's been a standard for actually over a century. Francis Allison wrote it at the beginning of the last century. And growing up, when my mom would sing it, my grandmother, who was a church organist at many different churches, would actually accompany her. And so I remember seeing the original manuscript that Mom would often sing off of and getting to see her markings and my grandmother's markings on there. And then my mother taught it to me, and I sang it, and she played for me when I was growing up. And so I thought that would be a good opener for tonight, because it really has a lot of special meaning for our family. The next set is 3 of the 5 mystical songs by Ralph Vaughan Williams. They're actually based on a series of poems by the 17th century Anglican priest George Herbert. The first 4 songs, and I'm going to sing number 3, Love Bade Me Welcome, and The Call, number 4. These first 4, they actually are more personal. They're more meditative. And they don't seem extremely religious. For instance, in Love Bade Me Welcome, the singer interacts with love personified. Now, we assume that love is actually referring to God, but God's name is never actually invoked in this movement. And then in The Call, you also don't hear the Lord's name. It continues in this personal meditative style, and the singer prays for truth, life, light, strength, joy, and love. But I think you can kind of see the Trinity. You can kind of see God in this one as well. The poet actually uses 3s. There's truth, life, and light, or strength, joy, and unity. And it's actually in 3 verses. So you actually can kind of hear the Trinity as I'm singing that particular movement. And then the final movement, Antiphon, is basically a praise hymn. It's not a personal meditation like the first ones. And you'll actually hear in the organ a multitude of dynamics and registrations, which kind of mimics the birds of the air and the creatures of the earth as we're all singing praises to God. And the final thing that I wanted to say about these is that Ralph Vaughan Williams actually said at one point that he was an atheist. He's known to be one of the greatest classical sacred music composers of the 20th century, and his father was actually a vicar, but he never really was deeply religious. He ended his life, and he said that he was agnostic, but during this time when he wrote these pieces, he said that he did not believe in a God at all, which just goes to show that God can do amazing things with everything from pieces that are done by atheists, by non-believers, as well as Christians alike. So these are the 5 mystical songs, number 3, 4, and 5. Yet my soul drew back, guilty of dust and sin. But quick-eyed love, observing me grow slack from my first entrance in, drew nearer to me, sweetly questioning if I lacked anything. Aghast I answered, worthy to be here. Love said, you shall be here. I, the unkind, ungrateful, ah, my dear, I cannot look on thee. Love took my hand and smiling did reply, who made the eyes but I? Truth, Lord, but I have marred them, yet my shame go where it doth deserve. And know you not, says love, who bore the blame, my dear, then I will serve. You must sit down, says love, and taste my meat. So I did sit and eat. Come my way, my truth, my life, such a way as gives us breath, such a truth as ends our strife, such a life as killeth death. Come, my light, my feast, my strength, such a light as shows a feast, such a feast as mends in length, such a strength as makes his guest. Come, my joy, my love, my heart, such a joy as none can move, such a love as none can part, such a heart as joys in love.
Sorry, y'all will understand why I needed that water in just a second.
Let all the world in every corner sing, my God and King. The heavens are not too high, his praise may thither fly. The earth is not too low, his praises there may grow. Let all the world in every corner sing, my God and King. Let all the world in every corner sing, my God and King. The church with psalms must shout, no door can keep them out. But above all, the heart must bear the longest part. Let all the world in every corner sing, my God and King, my God and King. Let all the world in every corner my God and King.
I'm going to take a quick water break just for a second.
The next set of songs that I've chosen almost feel out of place in this program of praises and joy and bombastic music. But I thought it would be good to do a few Lenten anthems, specifically Samuel Barber's setting of a 12th century text. It's called The Crucifixion, as you can see in your program, and it describes Christ's suffering on the cross and also specifically Mary's grief at seeing him. The vocalist and the pianist are actually completely independent of each other, so you'll hear me singing one melody and you'll hear Mrs. Hamner playing a completely different one. And it actually creates a lot of harsh dissonances. It really portrays the anguish of that particular day and the crucifixion. There's never actually any resolution in this piece. It kind of leaves you in suspense, and I think that's a good thing. Sometimes we spend too much time, I think, on Easter, and we sometimes are so much in a rush to get there that we don't dwell enough on what Christ suffered for us. The next piece is a well-known African-American spiritual, Give Me Jesus. This particular one is arranged by Moses Hogan. And Moses Hogan actually took a number of African-American spirituals and he brought them into the classical repertoire. And for that reason, this piece, as well as many others in that tradition, are now in the standard vocal repertoire. The text begins in the morning. It moves throughout the day to dark midnight, as the singer continually calls to give them Jesus. And by the third verse, the singer has lived their entire life, and they still are echoing that refrain, "You may have all this world, but give me Jesus." And then the final piece is Were You There? This is another piece that was arranged by Moses Hogan, another African-American spiritual. A little piece of trivia on this one, actually. It was dedicated to Dr. Benji Harlan, which many of you know. And so they apparently were close friends. Often this one, Were You There, has been sung as a transition to Easter, and the first 3 verses will dwell on the crucifixion, but then the final verse will be, Were you there when God raised him from the tomb? I've actually intentionally not included that verse tonight. I'm going to finish on Nailed Him to the Tree, and the reason for that is because the next piece that you're going to hear by Mrs. Hamner will actually be Lord of the Dance, which is an Easter piece that talks about how Christ danced on Easter Day, and so that's the next set, and here we go. At the cry of the first bird, they began to crucify thee, O swan. Never shall lament cease because of that. It was like the parting of day from night. of Mary's Son. But sorrow still to him was the grief which for his sake came upon his mother. In the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, give me Jesus, give me Jesus, give me Jesus. You may have all this world, give me Jesus. Dark midnight was my cry, dark midnight was my cry, dark midnight was my cry, give me Jesus, give me Jesus, give me Jesus. You may have of this world, give me Jesus. Oh, when I comes to die, oh, when I comes to die, oh, when I comes to die, give me Jesus, give me Jesus. Nobody but Jesus. You may have all of this world, give me Jesus. Nobody but Jesus. Oh, you may have all of this world, give me Jesus. they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my I'm very grateful to Cathy Hamner for accompanying me tonight, but also for giving me time to rest in the middle there. So the next pieces on the program tonight are, one of them is from kind of an operetta, Among Night Visitors, O Woman, You May Keep the Gold. And in this first aria, I take on the role of Melchior. He was one of the three wise men who stopped for a night on their journey to meet the Christ child with Amal, who is a cripple, and his mother. Right before this aria, the mother actually steals one of the gifts of the three wise men. She takes the gold that I'm actually bringing for the Christ child because she's hoping that that will buy care for Amal. She wants Amal to not be crippled anymore. She wants him to walk again. And in this aria that I'm about to sing, Melchior sings to her, "O woman, you may keep the gold because the child that we're visiting is going to be a king beyond the earth. He will not need any earthly possessions. He will derive his glory and his power from the love of people, not from earthly possessions." In response, she actually gives back the gold, and they go on their way. But this is a pivotal moment in this operetta here. And I think it's a good thing for all of us to think about, the nature of Christ, how it's not about earthly possessions, it's not about maybe a building, it's not about even maybe a physical church. It's about the church of people. It's about people and the love that we share with one another. The next aria is Liberame. It's from the Fare Requiem. It's a very well-known baritone aria in the classical music repertoire. And in this, the baritone soloist is asking the Lord to free them from eternal death, which will come on the day of dread, which we assume means the judgment day. The baritone and the choir continue to describe this judgment day as a day when the heavens and the earth shall move, when the world will be judged by fire, and the wrath of God will come down on earth. Actually, at the peak of this phrase, when I sing Dum Veneris, that translates to when God shall come, and the vocal line actually soars to a crescendo, which symbolizes the arrival of God on that day. However, it's not all doom and gloom in this piece. The choir actually sings a version of Requiem Aeternam, which means eternal rest and light shining upon them. So I'm actually skipping that part, so you're not going to hear that tonight, but I promise there is a bright side to this movement. And then we're actually skipping to the very end, where I then repeat that petition again, "Free me, Lord, deliver us, Lord, from death eternal." So this is "O Woman, You May Keep the Gold" and "Liberame." O woman, you may keep the gold. The child we seek doesn't need our gold. On love alone, he will build his kingdom. His pierced hand will hold no scepter. His haloed head will wear no crown. His might will not be built on your toil. Swifter than lightning, he will soon walk among us. He will bring us new life and receive our death. And the keys to his city belong to the poor. libera me, Domine, de morte eterna. In die la tremenda, in die quando cieli movendi sunt, quando cieli movendi sunt, et terra dum veneris judicare seculum perignem. Libera me, Domine, de morte eterna. Libera me, You may have noticed that I share a last name with one of the composers in this next set. This is a setting of Great Is Thy Faithfulness by my father, Marshall Thomason. According to Dad, when he told me about this, he said that he actually started writing this right when my grandmother passed away. That was about 2 years ago now. And he wrote a completely new tune to this extremely familiar setting. And you might notice that the piece is written throughout in a minor key. So minor key, it means that it kind of feels mysterious, maybe, or maybe even slightly sad, is usually what we think of when we think of minor keys, except for at the very end. It has a major shift. And during that time, the singer is repeating, "Unto me, great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me." And this transitions right into a final triumphant section with that refrain, "Great is thy faithfulness, my Lord." And so that piece is very special to me as well, because it is my father's piece, and because it does make me think of my grandmother, who always counted her blessings and always believed that God was with her and God was faithful. Continuing this theme of the blessings of God is Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing by Mark Hayes. And this arrangement is somewhat unique. It's actually written in a mixed meter, 5/4, so at times it might even feel a little herky-jerky, so don't let that catch you off guard. That's a technical term for it, by the way. And so actually it creates this really cool technique, because the piano accompaniment kind of is this flowing fountain, while the vocalist, me, is singing these long, soaring phrases. So there's an interesting juxtaposition there. So listen for that when we're singing that one. And then I'm ending this section with another Hayes arrangement of On Eagle's Wings. Many of you probably know this hymn. Unfortunately, many of you have probably heard it sung at funerals before. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm singing it tonight. I think that this hymn should be sung at times of joy as well. The theme that God is ever present, that God is faithful throughout that piece, I think is a good reminder for us, not only in times of mourning, but in times of joy as well. And so that's why I chose that piece to finish this set. Great Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness, Lord. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever wilt be, forever wilt be. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Summer and winter, springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with on nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, to thy great faithfulness, Lord, to thy great faithfulness, mercy and love. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me, unto me. Great is thy pardon, and a peace that endureth, Lord. There is no presence to cheer and to guide, giving strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings are mine with 10,000 beside, 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me, Lord, unto me. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me, Lord, unto me, unto me, Lord, unto me. Great is thy faithfulness, my Come, thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call forth songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise his name, I'm fixed upon it, name of God's redeeming love. Hitherto thy love has blessed me, thou hast brought me to this place, and I know thy hand will bring me safely home by thy good grace. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the hold of God. He to rescue me from danger bought me with his precious blood. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. Seal it for thy courts above. The shelter of the Lord, who abide in his shadow for life. Say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock in whom I trust, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. The snare of the fowler will never capture you, and famine will bring you no fear. Under his wings your refuge, his faithfulness your shield, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. You need not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day. Though thousands fall about you, near you it shall not come. And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. For to his angels he's given a command to guard you in all of your ways. Upon their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you, and hold you, and hold you in the palm of his hand, of his hand. In 2014, I was preparing my senior recital at Campbell University, and Mrs. Hamner was actually my accompanist then as well. She came up to me and asked me if I would be willing to sing a musical piece, a piece from a musical for my senior recital. Now, I was a church music major. I really liked singing things like what I just sang for you. I really wasn't feeling it, but she sent me a recording of Anthem from Chess. I'd never heard of this before, but I was absolutely blown away. And we decided that was what we would close my senior recital with. And so I decided I would close this tonight as well, since this is kind of a reunion for us a little bit. It has a really good message to it. It's not sacred in nature, but basically the story of chess is there are these two chess grandmasters. There's Freddie and there's Anatoly. Freddie is from the US, Anatoly is from the Soviet Union. This is during the height of the Cold War, actually. To add to the intrigue and the complications, of course, they're in love with the same woman, and they have a number of chess duels to determine who is the greatest chess player of all time. Well, right before one of these major deciding games, Freddie and his lover at the time break up because she has fallen in love with Anatoly. He actually forfeits the chess match. Anatoly becomes the great chess grandmaster, and then Anatoly immediately defects from the Soviet Union so that he can be with this woman that he now loves. And so this is where we are. At the end of the first act, Anatoly is seeking refuge in the British embassy of the Soviet Union. Reporters are mobbing him, asking him, why is he defecting? How does it feel to be the new chess grandmaster? And what is this about this secret affair with this woman? And his response is Anthem, which is that he loves his land, but his land goes beyond national boundaries. He says that the only borders lie around his heart. And I think that's a good message for all of us. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in maybe our country or our beliefs or our opinions, and we forget that we all have so much common ground. And so I thought this would be a good note to end on, no pun intended, for tonight's recital. No madness, though their sad power may prevail, can possess, conquer my country's heart. They rise to fail. She is eternal, long before nations' lines were drawn. When no flags flew, when no armies stood, my land was born. And you ask me, could I leave her through wars, death, and despair? She is the constant, we who don't care. And you wonder, will I leave her? But how? I cross over borders, but I'm still there now. Could I leave her? Where would I start? Let man's petty nations tear themselves